Good morning, friends. We have just finished with our celebrations of Navratri and Dashera, and today our topic is Durgashtami, which I'm sure all of you know that Navratras are 9 nights, and out of that, on the 8th night falls Durgashtami, which is also called Mahaashtami. Now, what happens in the 9 nights? I think we are all aware that the Divine Mother, Devi Ji, she reveals one aspect of her every night, right? And each of these aspects, they represent some quality which she can bestow to us as a boon if we worship and meditate her. Qualities like wisdom, intelligence, calmness, peace, joy, prosperity. So, in these 9 nights, Durga Ji takes different forms, and they are called Nav Durgas. Yeah? And on Mahaashtami, Durga Ji takes the form of Mahagauri. And Mahagauri can bestow on us calmness, intelligence, and prosperity. Why is she called Mahagauri? Why is Durga Ji called Mahagauri that day? Because legend has it that she did a lot of tapasya, she did a lot of austerities in the Himalayas, and as a consequence became quite dark. And then Shivji, her husband, pours Ganga Jal over her to completely cleanse her, and she becomes very, very white, very fair, Gora. So Mahagauri. Yeah. So also there's a legend of why we celebrate these 9 nights and the 10th day of Dashera or Vijayadashmi. Again, many of you may know that there was an Asur called Mahishasur, and Devi Ji, the Divine Mother, fought him, waged a battle against him for 9 nights. And finally, on the 10th day, she was victorious, Vijayi, over him on Vijayadashmi day. Now, of course, this was a physical battle of legend, but it also has some kind of an analogy for us, because we are waging also a lot of times an inner battle with our inner negative tendencies or asuric tendencies. For example, anger, jealousy, greed, selfishness. And these days, they go to show us that if we meditate, we worship the Divine Mother, then her grace, her blessings help us to emerge victorious in this inner battle as well. So, why Divine Mother? Why do we look at God as Divine Mother? Is God a mother, a father, man, woman, child, some human relationship, or is he that infinite, formless Brahman? So Yogananji tells us, yes, in the highest sense, God is that formless, infinite Brahman. But we, with our limited minds and our limited perspective, we are not able to relate to that infinite, with that eternal. But we are able to relate when we bring him down to our human terms. We understand human relationships very well. And again, why not father? Why mother? So mother, don't you think that whenever we think of our mother, there is a lovingness, a tenderness in us? Of course, with father also, but somehow there is a little more with the mother. Somehow, her relationship with us kind of brings out, closest gives us that unconditional divine love that God has for us. So Divine Mother, Yogananji says, he feels God closest to him as Divine Mother. And many of his prayers in Whispers of Eternity, you may have read, he addresses God as the Divine Mother. And he tells us also how we should relate. In his own words, let's see how we should relate to Divine Mother. Divine Mother is busy with the housework of creation, and if the baby devotee cries, she gives him a toy of wealth, maybe name, fame. If he cries again, she gives him another toy. But if the baby throws everything away and cries for her love alone, she picks him up at last and whispers to him lovingly, "If you really want only me and not my gifts, then come, be with me forever on my lap of infinity." So we just spoke about how in the highest sense, God is formless. But then we give him a form so sort of to symbolize, because he has so many abstract aspects which we find difficult to relate to. So we give him a form, we symbolize it. For example, Divine Mother in the form of Kali. We've all seen her images. She looks like a terrible, wrathful goddess, dark colored. But really, will it really incite devotion within us when we see this form? Maybe, maybe not, but these are all symbols. Everything about her is a symbol which gives us a hint of her divine functions in nature. She is actually a personification of Mother Nature. So she is that aspect of God which is the creative vibration in the universe, which has created the universe. So everything, the whole creation exists within her. Everything, matter, energy, our thoughts, everything that we feel closest to us exists within us. Thus, she is present invisibly in our minds. Thus, you may have noticed she has a garland of heads around her to symbolize that she is in the minds of all beings. Even the play of death and birth goes on within her, and that is symbolized with her two hands, one of which holds the sword and one which holds a cut head. And the third hand is thrust out to bestow life. So both life and death are like a play within her. Her energy is omnipresent, and that is portrayed, represented by her open streaming hair, which shows that her energy exists everywhere. Then also we see something which seems very strange. Her husband Shiv is lying at her feet. And Shiv is that aspect of God which is beyond vibration, which is beyond creation. Thus he is shown motionless. He has no motion, almost passive, lying at her feet, with one leg of hers resting on his chest and her tongue hanging out. A lot of people misunderstand that. They feel it is in bloodlust that her tongue is hanging out. But actually it is because she's made a mistake. She has realized she's made a mistake. Don't we do that by mistake? If we make a mistake, our tongue comes out sometimes, So it's exactly that. So what is happening? She is depicted dancing all over creation, because her dance represents the dancing, the vibration, the movement of the creation. So when she's dancing, by mistake, she puts her foot on Shivji's chest, and then she said, she takes out her tongue as if to say, oh, I've gone too far. Because the moment creation touches the infinite spirit, the motionless, beyond vibration spirit, all creation, all motion ceases. Then also there is another aspect of the Divine Mother which is very paradoxical. Her fourth hand is raised like this, giving you blessings for mukti, for liberation to her devotees. Now, she is also the goddess. She is called Mahamaya. She is the one who is responsible for dragging us into this creation in the first place. But if the devotee so chooses, like that little baby says, I don't want these gifts anymore. I don't want your outward manifestations anymore. I want just you. At that time, when we choose her over nature, then the bonds of Maya break away and she gives us mukti and she gives us liberation. And how does that happen? In yogic teachings, in our Puran, how does creation happen? It is said that there was in the beginning only infinite spirit, where a sudden thought comes in this infinite spirit, a vibration starts that I am one, let me be many. So this creative vibration starts, and this creative vibration of the spirit is personified as the Divine Mother. And the sound that this vibration makes is the Om. So Divine Mother and Om first take us away from the spirit into creation, but they also, if we meditate on Om, if we meditate on Divine Mother for her blessings, she is responsible for taking us back to that infinite spirit, which is our true home. So Divine Mother, Om sound, of divinity, is actually a bridge between us and the infinite spirit, between us and the Father, the Shiv. And she can take us, with her blessings, her grace, back to that infinite spirit. Why? Why should we even leave this creation? This creation, as we just came to know, is Divine Mother. Everything in it is Divine Mother. It lives in Divine Mother. It is created by Divine Mother. But yes, she also has a creative power of Maya, of delusion, of ignorance, which gives us false notions of suffering. So how do we live in this world without suffering? That also is something that we need to learn from her. We need to realize when we live in this world, we need to be in this world. We can't just leave it and run away. We have to do activity. But we should do this activity also with enthusiasm, with a lot of love, with a lot of interest. But we should not do it with the attachment of ownership. We need to remember that this world belongs to the Divine Mother. This is her play. Nothing is mine. This BMW, this house, this, whatever we have is not really ours. We are like trustees to enjoy it, but they essentially belong to the Divine Mother. Not only our possessions, even our body is actually created by Divine Mother. It is hers to do her will, to serve her. If we can live with that consciousness, then we remain free. We become free of that Maya Jal that we are surrounded with. Right? So how do we live with that? We when we eat, we say, okay, we are not eating for our greed. It is to feed the Divine Mother within. It is to maintain this body temple, which houses Divine Mother. We are working to maintain this body. There is this story in the Purans again about Krishnji. His gopis, used to give him makhan. And one day they were wanting to go and feed him, but he was across the river. And the river was in spate, Yamuna, because of the monsoons. So they were unable to cross that river. Close by they see Ved Vyasji. They know, of course, he's a great sage, saint, and they feel that maybe he'll work a miracle for us and help us to cross. So they go to him and tell him, please, we need to go and feed Krishnji and that boy over there, and we can't cross because of the Yamuna. So can you help us part it somehow, reduce the flow? So he says, yeah, I can help, but first I'm very hungry. I need to eat this makhan that you're carrying. It looks quite delicious. So the gopis are like, this is just like for our Krishna. This is not for anybody else. But then they realize that this guy is not going to help us unless we give him some of it. He said, okay, but eat quickly, then we have to cross over. So Vedvyas says, okay, calm down, I'm eating. And he eats 1 pot, 2 pot, he keeps eating. Very less is left anyways. But now gopis are very impatient, but he's a great sage, they can't say anything. So they just grumble to each other. And then Vyas finishes and he says, goes to the river and he says, if I haven't eaten anything today, let this river part. And sure enough, the river parts, and these gopis who are already irritated with him are like, first he eats up all our makhan and then he says all this, and grumbling and muttering to themselves. They say anyway, they pray, bow to him, and they cross the river and reach Krishna, who's happily sleeping. They try to wake him up and say, Krishna, come, we've bought your food, we've bought your makhan. So Krishnji is like, oh, let me sleep. So they're like, aren't you hungry? He said, oh, I'm really well fed. That guy over there across that river, he's fed me so much today, I think it'll last me for 3 days. And then the gopis realize, how is this? How did it happen? Because Ved Vyas was not taking anything for himself. He was flowing with that consciousness of oneness of God, that everything he does is for the consciousness of God. So when we can do that in our lives also, then the grace of Divine Mother flows and helps us to cut off those fetters of Maya and delusion from our lives. I just want to end with one short prayer by Yoganandji from Whispers from Eternity to Divine Mother. O Divine Mother, we lay eagerly at thy feet all the fresh cut flowers of our devotion. Our humble prayer to thee is this: Convert the little altar of our united hearts into the blazing light of thy omnipresence. Divine Mother, be thou the only love of our souls. Ignite our damp wood of earthliness with the flame of infinity. Let the torch of our own devotion blaze in the dark forest of our indifference, restlessness, and ignorance. Inflame our minds with thy thoughts, our hearts with thy love, our souls with thy eternal joy. Thank you.
A few thoughts I will share as well. Masuda said about Navratri, and then as Divine Mother gives us, if we pray enough, different sets of powers. But you see, like, she will give the powers only if we really have any need of them, isn't it? And it's like, give me the powers. I have a nice shelf and I'm going to put all of them there. And then this one I got from the last Navratri. This Navratri I'm going to pray some other Divine Mother. No, then she necessarily won't give that. I was in a pandal, and then I was looking at the beautiful idols and also looking at the people. And if you see, like, especially the Bengalis, they like to dress up, and then it's a very joyous occasion, certainly. She's laughing, she's acknowledging my observation. And then I was with a friend, and she was telling me why it is done. No, not necessarily just these days. It's also part of just a social gathering as a thing. But she was taking more in terms of, like, what does it symbolize? It's like you don't wear the so old, dirty clothes, but you wear something fresh. And there is something more than just this beauty and appreciation to that. And that is something I would like to touch upon as we get some more inspiration from this festive season is, again, so something that it is all we sort of just give away and then wear something more fresher. Now, cloth is just a symbolic thing, no? What is it that we always carry, which is sort of stale and all those kind of things, no? Even when we practice spirituality, it is important that freshness. The definition of God, Yogananda ji gave, it is ever conscious, ever existing, and he added that part, which is ever new, bliss. Because anything good, for example, even a beautiful sunrise, we don't say that, oh, I have seen it enough, I don't like to see it. The next morning, if you go to a beautiful place, some of us, Keshav and they are not here today because they are in Ranikhet, in Babaji's cave. And beautiful, this is the time when you can see those beautiful mountains. So every morning you wake up and you see the same old mountains. You don't get disturbed by that fact, no? Because there's some freshness and it is never enough. And that's what the whole point of this life is, It's not that, I have to do the same thing again. No, there is that freshness, and that's like this time is also the reminder that are we really becoming that, as Yogananda ji calls, spiritually antique, or that freshness, is it alive inside ourselves? Swami Kriyananda exemplified in his life entirely. He wanted to become a hermit. That's how his life started. And what he created at the end of it, to satisfy that desire, a number of communities and a number of beautiful, beautiful places. If you go to Ananda village and any other places, even in India, a lot of beauty. And it does involve material possession and all of it. Because it is not the attachment that he was doing it, but he was saying, there has to be a joyful celebration. You see, the name of this organization is also gave is Ananda. It is a celebration of life with Divine Mother, as Vasudha was saying, not just a boasted ego like I have done all of this, but just dancing together with her. I was in Palo Alto one time, and that's the same time when Swami Kriyananda was also going to visit. But he was a big celebrity, if I may say, by then, so he wasn't very easily accessible. So we had our time with him, and this is the same time, and I was working on the sound booth at that time, so I had to do some shopping. So I went to a shop like that, more like a chroma kind of a shop, no? And I was looking around, and I came outside, and I just saw Naya Swami Asha, who was spiritual director there. I said, oh, what are you doing here? I said, oh, Swamiji wanted to visit the shop. I said, oh, Swamiji is also here. So it was just, and I was just waiting there. David Prever, who was another director, he was just bringing Swamiji in his wheelchair, just three of them. And he says, hello. I says, I just wanted to see the new televisions in the shop. That's what he said. I said, why don't you join me? I said, sure. I was very happy. So we're just walking around and he was just looking very like a childlike with those big flat screen. This is a long time ago, no? The flat screen and giant television weren't as common as they are today. So he was just looking in different aisles and whatever new innovations are happening in the technological world. And I was just going along, and then later on, so he didn't necessarily buy anything, but he spent quite around 20-30 minutes in the shop just looking around, talking to the sales representative, and then he went off. And I was very impressed with that, because he was 83, 84 years of old. And then you see, like many of the people that I know of that age, they certainly have no interest in any technical or any gadgety stuff. And even like I reflected myself now, I was interested, I think I'm still interested in some gadgets. But then now I go to Chroma, I go to my one particular thing, I get a cable or USB pen drive, I just go back. While there are new things happening, I don't necessarily pay every time that attention. And why? Because, well, it's not relevant anymore. No, I'm now a spiritual person. They don't affect me anymore, isn't it? It's not only that. And then, so one part was true, we do not want to be attached. But does it mean we refuse life like that? When there's so much beauty, so much energy people have been spending so that they can bring some nice things to us, we don't necessarily need to refuse it. That is not the path that Yogananda, your Swamiji, showed us. He said, enjoy everything with the joy of God. And he represented that, And that requires our participation. It is very easy to say, oh, I'm not attached. And it's a good thing. I don't need any of things. Very great realization. But then I still choose to look at it and appreciate it for what it is. Otherwise, it becomes indifference. Yogananda ji said that I don't mind your fault, but I mind your indifference. It is okay when we say, I do not want to indulge in something because we want to preserve our energy. But you see, that means we're withdrawing. But we have this huge amount of energy, just the way we are affirming the entire cosmos is behind us. Then we have to put it somewhere. Otherwise, it is just a blockage that we create. You see, in Gita, it is also said that when we talk about action, there is right action and wrong action. And many times we sort of wonder, oh, what is the right thing to do? I don't want to do the wrong thing. And it has its own space. And it is right thinking. But in the same line, Gita also talks about the worst thing in this thing is not the wrong thing, but not doing it, inaction. Krishna says that is the problematic thing, and many times those especially who are a little bit more intellectual, or rather they live in head, and I think in this era, many people will live in this. I have a big head, and many of my projects actually start and end here. And I'm happy or stressed because they finished in one way or the other, but this is not healthy, or this is actually not even helping us to get any wisdom. There's a very powerful prayer that Yogananda ji gave. He said, I will think, I will will, and I will act. But guide thou my thinking, will, and activity in everything that I do. You see, he gave it a sequence. It can't stop just here. It has to be willed, it has to be acted, and only when that circle is complete, it has the capacity to give us some wisdom. So when we talk about, many times, if you see we have a decision to make, we get stuck in that. Oh, whether this is the right thing to do or wrong thing to do. And then we read books, we ask people, but you see, this is all still going on in this level. Many times, as Yogananda said, doesn't matter. Get a hint of it, will it, act it, the result of that action will tell you whether it was right or wrong. And let's say you were wrong. Most likely we would be at times. We are humans, we are supposed to err. Will that error teach you something or not? Yes, and only when we go through that cycle of thinking, willing, active, we have an experience, as we call as life, our participation. And that participation, the next time we are going, we have a more wise decision to make, isn't it? And this is what Yogananda ji said, do it over and over, participate actively in life, and then going through that, because in that experience we will hold the capacity to gather the wisdom. In Durga Puja, when we talk about leaving things and then wearing new clothes, what we're talking about, even our own perception. In our teaching, when we read a line, if you reflect your own understanding, no, at some point we say, oh, I think I have understood. And few line down the line, it changes. So many times the tendency is, oh, I don't think I'm ready for that. When will I be ready? When I'm liberated. How will we become liberated if we just let the teaching right there? Now is what Yoganandaji said. Look at what the teaching is saying. What do you understand it? Put into practice. Result is not important. You succeed or fail, you will have a better perspective, the same line when the action is taken. When we come on Sundays here, again, there's reflecting on the same thing. You see, the structure of these Sundays is the same for number of decades now. You know, it's very easy to put it in calendar. 9 to 10 meditation, 10 to 11 satsang, happening over and over. Why do we still choose on a wonderful weekend where we could have gone, make it a long weekend, and be here knowing that it's going to be the same old thing? Because that same old thing, it's not really that old. When we come with that renewed enthusiasm, with that renewed courage, renewed determination, that we are going to touch what? The Satchidanandam, the ever new bliss, which is never ever going to go old. One of the things that Swami Kriyanandaji told to all his students, he said, never get old. And he wasn't talking about the body. He was talking about your idea, your perspective. Never assume that you have understood it all, because that is the trap. It puts you back, okay, I don't need to do anything. And this is an attitude we have to cultivate. You see, when you look at the television, oh, I'm so above it. It doesn't help. Look at it for what it is. You know, having an attitude of curiosity. This creation, as Vasudha was saying, is a creation of Lord. Divine Mother is dancing through everything, even in that plasma TV, as much as she is in that beautiful tree. But when we look at life through that curiosity and participate, she holds the capacity to take us back to the Father, to give us a glimpses, like while we are dancing, all of a sudden, we hold the capacity to touch that Shiva, the unmanifested spirit, which is what we are all longing for. And I just sincerely pray as we end, is in this festive season, the season of Durga, season of Divine Mother, we all get some renewed enthusiasm for our practices, for life, and bring that in our daily life. Joy to you.